I'm here with Janet Takahashi, and well, we're having tea for two, aren't we? So we're working with a teacup and basically creating a friendship recipe.
Yep, we are.
So you said, and you have promised me, that you were going to teach me how to letter beautifully, and it's easy.
It's very easy.
So how do we start?
Well, we're going to start with writing in your own handwriting, and so I'll just demonstrate with like just doing an ABC.
So even if my handwriting is not as pretty as you, Janet, I'll be okay.
It's okay.
Okay.
However your handwriting is. So there's that, and now I'm going to take a waterproof pen.
And you're using a waterproof pen because we're going to be using something wet afterwards.
That's right. We're going to paint on top of it.
Okay.
And so on this pen, if you use the point of it, you have a thin line, and if you press on it on the side, it's a little heavier. And so you can have an upstroke and a downstroke.
So some artists use traditional brushes, but now you're talking about using a brush pen to really use that tip like you would a brush.
That's right. So I'm going to follow our handwriting.
So you're just tracing now.
Tracing.
And I know that you have that sparkly pen. Is that going to show through, or is this black pen going to cover it up?
It'll cover it, but it'll show through.
It'll cover it, but it'll show through. I like that. It's like it's going to be both. You can get everything that you want.
Yeah, so it adds just that little bit of sparkle to it. So this one is already, we wrote it just your regular printing.
So that's printing as opposed to cursive.
That's right. And I'll do the same thing. And this time I'm just going to follow what we did.
Now I noticed a couple things that I want to point out because you are a professional letterer or calligrapher, which is one, you have a little pencil line so that you know that everything's straight.
Exactly.
And the next thing I noticed is you have this piece of paper, which you call a fancy term.
It's a hand guard.
Okay. And that just keeps the oils from your hand, right, from getting onto your paper.
That's right. So now what we're going to do, you do this printing, and then you just connect the letters like that.
So again, you were talking about that upstroke being skinny. Are there any tricks to getting your upstroke to be skinny?
You just have to hold it on the tip of the brush, and then just not have any pressure.
Okay, I'm gonna try that.
Okay.
So then I know you said that we are gonna lay out our friendship recipe, and you have a whole secret strategy for making that perfect.
That's right. So this is a layout design. It's just something that, like when you're going to make something, you do all the lettering, you decide on what colors you want to have.
So this is actually exciting to me. So you've done this not just like on like copy paper, right? Nothing fancy.
Yep. Just cut it up, move it around.
Practicing, and you've done it in several colors. So you could do different sizes and
another
styles.
Color. This one's a lot brighter. And so then after that, then we're going to decide on the size of it. So this is a 5x7, and then transfer everything to here.
So if you know that your finished piece of paper is 5x7, that's why you're now taking all these little taped pieces and laying them out on that.
That's right.
Okay.
And so there are three components. We have the lettering, we have this garland of flowers, and we have a teacup. So after we do that...
So I imagine that when you were doing this, you might have put the teacup on, looked at the design, and said something's missing, and that's why you grabbed the garland. So in your studio, do you just have all these kinds of pieces around for when you might need them to audition?
No.
So you actually just draw them on little pieces, and then you have them.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And it enhances that a little bit.
Cool. So what's the tracing paper for?
Okay, so the tracing paper is how we're going to transfer it to good paper. And I've cut the paper the same size, the 5 inches by 7 inches, drew my baseline and the height of the letter height, and then I'm going to transfer that pencil mark to your good paper like this. And I'll draw the lines, as you can see here. And I can see that the first line starts there, the second one there, and then here's where Friendship Recipe starts, right there.
Ah, so that you can totally transfer it that way.
Exactly. And so then I wrote it with a sparkly pen, and now I can go on top of it with the
And when you go on top of it, just like we did, that's what it looks like.
Exactly.
So now we're into teacup land.
That's right. So with teacups, there's several different styles here. And they're done, those are sketches, and they're done with pencil, and you can still see the pencil line of the ovals, and you can see how fanciful and fun and whimsical they could be.
So let's do a teacup.
Okay, so we're going to draw a teacup by ovals, and so remember, they don't have to be perfect.
I like it. I always think that when you make it perfect, you're just always unhappy because it can never possibly be that way.
That's right.
So I assume that pencil lines you would erase afterwards,
Exactly.
but now you're gonna go over this in a pen.
That's right. And so it's the same pen that we used to letter with.
Again, waterproof because we're about to use watercolor.
Exactly. And so on the back line, I'm just gonna have a thin line. And then on the front, I'm just gonna make it a little heavier. And you see how that gives it dimension?
Yeah, that's amazing what you can do with just angling the brush.
And then we're going to put this on.
And just keep going around, following the lines, but not being like beholden to them, right? They're guidelines,
right.
They're not the boss of you.
Exactly.
So now, if we want a watercolor, one of the things you told me is we're not using traditional watercolor paints.
Right.
So what is the watercolor technique?
Okay.
We're gonna go ahead and use some markers,
use
right?
some markers.
And you have to make sure that there are a lot of different markers out there that are water soluble that will work for this.
That's right. So I'm gonna take this, it's a water-soluble marker, and put it on a palette.
And it's got a nice brush tip too,
That's
so
right.
reminds you actually of a
And
paintbrush.
So we're going to use a water brush and put forget-me-not flowers, which is a 5-petal blue flower, which is perfect for a friendship recipe.
It is, because forget-me-nots are all about faith and love and all that kind of stuff. And if we look over at your finished cup, I can see those beautiful forget-me-nots, the watercolor just adding a nice little shadow, and even behind the lettering, it's beautiful, Janet. Thank you so much.